Welcome to today's news wrap up. Let's dive right into the top stories making headlines today. The House has passed the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility or SAVE Act, requiring proof of citizenship for federal election registration. Sponsored by Representative Chip Roy the legislation mandates in-person verification and programs to remove non-citizens from voter rolls. It also allows citizens to sue election officials who fail to enforce these requirements. Critics argue the bill could disenfranchise eligible voters who lack access to identification documents. I talked about this so many times. Everyone has ID. For the people that can't afford ID, every single state has programs where they can give you identification for free. So that's no excuse. The federal law already requires restraints to swear under penalty of perjury that they are citizens, but courts have previously blocked similar state level efforts. The measure reflects ongoing debates over election integrity and voter access. Anyone that don't want this registration, they don't want it because they want to commit some type of fraud, I believe. Recent inflation data shows a significant improvement in the US economy, with the consumer price index dropping by 0.1% in March and the annual inflation rate falling to 2.4%, the lowest in 4 years. Remember when they were saying everything is going to go up? Energy prices decreased by 2.4%, gas prices by 6.3%, and prescription drug prices by 2%, while real average hourly earnings grew by 1.4%. Even CNN acknowledged the positive trend, highlighting the impact of reduced energy costs. The White House celebrated the turnaround attributed to economic policies under President Trump. Critics of the previous administration's handling of the economy are now facing scrutiny as the narrative shifts towards recovery and stability. Now, I don't think we're out the doghouse yet. We did put a whole bunch of tariffs on China, rightfully so, because we have to get China in line with free trade and not continue to screw the American people over. Meghan Markle's podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, recently premiered with an episode featuring Bumble founder Whitney Wolfe Herd, but has faced swift criticism for its superficial approach. I mean, she's vapid, she's fake. Everyone knows this. They continue to give her podcasts and shows and things like that, but nobody really cares about Meghan Markle. Nobody is checking Meghan Markle. Reviews have lambasted the conversation as overly focused on self-love rather than tackling genuine business challenges like logistics or management techniques, like most real podcasts talk about. Critics argue that the dialogue dominated by Markle's direction comes off as shallow and more about projecting a relaxed narrative than offering substantial advice to entrepreneurs. Some commentators went so far as to call it a quote, pleasant game of make believe, tailored for an affluent audience rather than a practical guide for launching a business. Despite the negative feedback, the podcast made a strong debut in the top 10 of Apple Podcasts, demonstrating Megan's continued ability to draw an audience. It's not going to last long. I think it's going to go by way of Netflix or other stuff that went down. She'll do it for a couple of months and then it'll fade away. President Trump is preparing to cut off all federal funding for cities that implement sanctuary policies, arguing that these jurisdictions shield criminals instead of protecting victims, which I agree with. He contends that by allowing violent illegal immigrants back into their communities without proper detention, these cities jeopardize public safety and tarnish the nation's reputation internationally. The administration is targeting predominantly Democratic areas, criticizing their practices for putting citizens at risk while they fail to fully cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. Why wouldn't they cooperate? Why wouldn't you want to get rid of these criminals that's on the street? That makes no sense to me. Although the decision is expected to prompt significant legal challenges, Trump emphasizes that prioritizing public safety is paramount. Supporters of the move see it as a long overdue measure to address what they view as weak law enforcement policies in sanctuary cities. And I definitely agree with that sentiment. Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has uncovered widespread fraud in unemployment claims, revealing that millions of dollars were paid to individuals with impossible birthdays. Among the findings, 9,700 claims were filed by people whose birthdays are 15 years in the future, totaling $69 million. You can't make this up. 15 years in the future. They haven't even been born yet, but yet they're collecting this money. While another 41,000 was claimed by someone listed as born in 2154. Additionally, 24,500 individuals over the age of 115 received $59 million in benefits, and 28,000 children aged 1 to 5 claimed $254 million. Crazy. Musk criticized the lack of checks in the system, emphasizing the absurdity of these payouts. The investigation highlights significant flaws in unemployment insurance processes and raises concerns about government oversight. Seems like there is no oversight. ABC News host George Stephanopoulos is revealed to have played a role in trying to salvage President Biden's image during his faltering re-election campaign, according to a new book. The narrative describes how the campaign orchestrated interviews meant to counteract growing concerns about Biden's evident cognitive decline, a decline that became painfully apparent after a disastrous debate performance. Stephanopoulos recounted an interview with the president as, quote, heartbreaking up close, noting Biden's hoarse and semi-coherent manner, which only deepened suspicions about his ability to serve. And now we're hearing about this. Now that the election is over, Democrats are finally coming clean about something we already knew from our own eyes and ears. We saw these things happening. The book details instances where Biden appeared utterly exhausted, even dozing off during campaign preparations, while his close aides hesitated to confront him about his shortcomings. These revelations, amplified by subsequent legal challenges, include a lawsuit brought by former President Trump against ABC, have only intensified scrutiny of the Democratic Party's strategy and broader dynamics between media and politics. Lastly, during a speech at the Minnesota Capitol, Governor Tim Walz faced loud boos from U.S. military veterans who accused him of stolen valor and called him a, quote, coward. And I would agree, because he lied about his valor. He lied about his time in Afghanistan. Walz has been criticized for leaving his National Guard unit before they were deployed to Iraq and for allegedly fabricating claims of PTSD from serving in Afghanistan, despite never fighting there. Further controversy surrounds his past relationship with the daughter of a high-ranking Chinese Communist Party official, raising questions about his ties to China. These allegations have fueled ongoing scrutiny of his credibility and leadership. That dude need to go away. He need to hide somewhere. I don't know why he's still coming out and talking. But that's all for today's news wrap-up. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.